Good morning, it's Blake, and we're going to do a full review on where we're at here on the 1975 Travco build. So far, I'm really happy with the way everything has turned out. I've got a few gremlins to chase down, and that's what we're working on right now. So, things that are finished. The upholstery is completely done. You can see the upholstery here. I'm sitting on this couch back here. You can see this light up here. That's the 110 volt light. That's one of the extra lights that it didn't have before that I hooked up. And so that area is finished. We've got the 12 volt lighting back here all working. We've got the ceiling lights working. The floor is completely finished now, as well as all of the quarter round. Let's see if you can see that down in there. See, as it goes around the corner and under the door, all that quarter round, that's real wood, not the cheap composite stuff. So I put a little extra quality into that. So that's all done. And then over here, here's something you haven't seen yet. The dinette. The dinette is finished. Where you sit, and you see those hinges down there? Right there and right there. The reason I put those hinges in is so that you can lift these big boxes up and use the storage that would be underneath. I'll show you what I mean. Doing that with one hand. Alright, so see that big area underneath there? It's just a hollow box, so I placed them both on hinges so you could access that area in the coach. There we go. So get a good feel of that. There's a bar that mounts on the wall right here, and that's what your kitchen table is going to mount to. Another thing we did, this piece of trim up in here was destroyed before, so I replaced that with aluminum so it's never going to warp or break or crack like the plastic one did before. There is a small hole in the ceiling here, and I'm going to be filling and patching that hole. Also, we did the corner trim on this, and on the door, we trimmed all the way around the door with the aluminum as well. Plus, all of the trim work down here in the entryway is done. I'll show you a view from outside of that. So, all of that trim work is finished and in place. All the trim work on there is finished, along with all of the wall carpeting on here is done, as well as the trim on the bottom. And, oh, obviously, the front seats are in as well. So these are adjustable. Let's see, it goes back. And it makes an armrest, and you pull it forward and it comes back down. Got both front seats in. Sorry, it's a little messy. You have all my tools lying everywhere. Another thing that we just completed was the linkage for the transmission kickdown. So you know when you floor it on a car, it drops a gear and takes off even faster. On a motorhome like this, there's a piece of linkage that when you floor it, it pushes a lever on the transmission. And when I switched over to the fuel injection, there was no linkage to do that. There was no piece of metal to push that button. So I had to build new linkage out of aluminum to make that work again. So as I built the actuator for the throttle assembly on the fuel injection, I also had to build a kickdown link. And it has to push that transmission button exactly at the right time. So I'll show you that right here. Let's see if we can get a good shot of it. Where are you? Why can't I see you? Oh, we're on the wrong side. There it is. Alright, see all those little holes on that bar? That's so I can fine tune it for kickdown to happen exactly at the right time. Then, over here, this is the new throttle linkage that I built. See the throttle cable right there going onto the fuel injection. This is the throttle cable. I'm sorry you can't see this very well. I'm not really looking at the screen. So that's the throttle cable. This is the actuator pin that I built. So this is the little lever
I guess, a hook that I cut out of aluminum so I could attach the throttle cable to everything. So now when you push on the gas pedal, everything goes. Anyway, easier to see in person than on film.
One of the gremlins that we're chasing down on the engine right now is, it works great, but I could hear a little tick, 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 tick in the distributor cap. So what I figured out that was the reluctor and the reluctor wheel spinning around and contacting each other. Now it's a really thin clearance. I'll show you what it's supposed to be measured at. So let me see if you can see this little guy right here. That little piece of metal is the maximum clearance that it can have. It's 80 thousandths, which is very, very thin between that reluctor and, well, the reluctor wheel and the pickup, the thing that sends the spark signal to the ignition control module as that wheel spins around. Anyway, it's supposed to be very, very close together, but for some reason it's moved, and it began to the spark began to fail on the engine. So I had deteriorating spark and a little tick coming from the distributor cap. So I took it off, and it had been sanding that wheel down with the reluctor pickup. That's a bad thing. So I think the reason for that is there may be a bearing that's gone bad in the distributor itself, causing that reluctor wheel to wobble a little bit, and with such tight clearance, that wobble will actually touch the pickup and grind it down. And so I think I may end up having to replace the entire distributor instead of just the cap and rotor and all the reluctor and things like that, so that it won't do that again, because you have to have that really tight clearance. It's so important that when the engine heats up, those clearances change slightly, and you can stop having spark. The engine just won't start anymore if it just changes slightly. So it has to keep that 80 thousandths clearance. Anyway, that might be a little deep for a lot of people on the engine side of it, but that's the gremlin I'm chasing on the engine. Another gremlin. All of the electrical circuits work except for this 110 volt light. I'm not sure why. I know exactly where the wires go and where they go into the junction box, so I'm guessing that it's in the junction box because it comes from the same box as these lights here. So unfortunately, that junction box is behind the brand new fridge. I have to take the fridge out for that repair, but you know, that's the way you do a shakedown, so you can find all the things that didn't work out. You can see that this light is taken apart as well. The reason for that is I'm trying to chase back the wires on this light to figure out why that light is not working either. So we don't have any 12 volt electricity coming to this light, but luckily we have the entire fuse panel right here. That means a very easy pickup of electricity from here down to the light. Now the other thing that's a little bit curious on this same side is the furnace electricity. I'm not getting any signal there as well. So I'm guessing that this signal and the furnace, which is directly under it, are on the same circuit, and there is a break in that circuit somewhere, but I don't know where it is. So that being said, I might just run brand new wires because there's plenty of electricity available here at this circuit board. I can run new wires down to the furnace and the light at the same time, and I might just redo that instead of pull everything apart and try to find where that wire is broken, because that wire can stay broken. I'll happily run new wires for that. And any other gremlins that I'm working with here? Oh, here's one. So on this seat here, if you hit the brakes hard, because this is on a hinge, what do you think will happen to that seat? It'll go flop and catapult you or whoever's sitting on that straight up through the front window. And catapulting through the front window is not what I want. So I bought a, where is it? Must be in my shop. I bought a turnbuckle that I'm going to hook to these seatbelt latch bolts down here at the bottom. You see these little bolts down there? Those bolts are what you attach the seatbelt straps to, and so I'm going to make a little bracket with an eye hole on there and hook the turnbuckle to that, so you can crank that turnbuckle down and that'll hold that seat solid, and so you won't have a issue with the seat falling over as you hit the brakes. I don't think it'll actually really fall over, but better safe than sorry. Are there any other issues that I'm not completely satisfied with? No, I think that's all. So, a little bit of trim work left to do. Like there's some imperfections here. You see this? That doesn't cut it. And then I've got to fill some of these unused holes with stainless hardware because that doesn't meet my standards. Also, I'm going to be doing the backsplash here. I'm going to be using stained cedar slats for the backsplash on that, so that looks nice. And what else? Oh, here's another issue back here. So the bathroom is not complete yet, and the reason for that is because I'm still working on the septic tank. The septic tank was about as far gone as you can realistically repair. So it's been a major undertaking to repair the septic tank. It's had cracks almost the entire length of it, and so I'm having to rebuild the entire tank out of fiberglass. And it'll be a lot stronger than it ever was before, but because of the temperatures and just the hassle of working with fiberglass, I haven't completed that yet. I've got about half of it left to glass. So I've got to finish that up, and then I can reinstall the toilet and repaint the vanity area in the bathroom because that doesn't really go with everything. Also, I need to replace this vent because this handle does not turn. So the pin that raises the riser, that hooks the riser to the handle at the gear, that pin I'm sure has come out because, as you can see, it is not doing its job. But I've replaced lots and lots of these, and it's good to replace those anyway because the seals get old and they tend to leak. This one also actually has a cover on top of it that keeps the rain and the wind out of it. But, you know, I think it's just best practice to replace that anyway because it's old and cracked, and, you know, those do have a lifespan because you don't want roof leaks more than anything. That'll ruin all this hard work. So, let's see, anything else? No. So I think today's projects are going to be take out the fridge, trace the electric issue behind the fridge, and then run new wires to the furnace and that light over the sink. I do need to get a new kitchen faucet because that other one was destroyed, remember? And I think that's all. Everything else is going really well. And then after that, the interior is going to be, for the most part, complete. There'll be some design elements like curtains, wall hangings, things like that I may or may not end up putting into the project. But that's where we're at right now. It's probably, interior-wise, 90% done. And then we have the exterior, which isn't a major time commitment, but the problem I'm having is because it's so cold, the paint won't cure. So you can't paint if paint's never going to cure, it's just going to ruin the paint job. So either I have to drive this to a place where I know I have a warm shop that I can paint it, or I have to rent a shop here and find one that's going to be big enough to put this in and let me paint in, because most people don't want you to paint in their shop because of the overspray and the mess it makes. So I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to handle painting the RV at this point, just because of the weather and the temperature. You have to have it consistently over 50 degrees for a number of days for that to even be a viable option to paint the exterior. So, no solution there yet, but working on it.